Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. It's a real pleasure to welcome you on behalf of EuropaBio. Here we are discussing the possibility that member states will have to ban the use of GMOs on their territories for non-scientific reasons. Certainly as EuropaBio, we question how we can democratize something by moving away from freedom to choose to freedom to ban, which is the next sector that will have a similar situation where something that is considered unpopular will be given back to member states to ban. We have said as EuropaBio publicly that we hope that the Commission will reconsider its proposal and withdraw it. Thanks to the approvals that we had recently, I'm delighted to announce that Mr. Mays, Brazilian Mr. Mays, has made it into Europe.
I will go to other member states because the livestock sector is calling me. I don't know what could happen. I don't know if I will stuck in the border. I don't know how many visas I will need.
We want the GMO authorization system to remain science-based. Openly speaking, it sends a signal to member states, those who vote in the committee against the proposal, and then they happily use the feed for the agriculture. Well, be brave at home. Of course, we will continue the authorization according to current legislation. The legislation is in place and we have to fulfill it.
I think it would be extremely useful, even if it was just a framework, some sort of an impact assessment would have been useful from the European Commission.
I hope this debate on the biotech will start turning the other side. I mean, we need research in biotech in the European Union as more as possible. We need the voice of the agriculture industry. We need the voice of scientists in Europe to be heard. Help us. Speak up.
I'm afraid that we say the Commission and Sanko didn't talk when the people were selling all this nonsense on danger of GMs, on damage that would be done to the environment. We never were supported by the Commission openly. The scientists talked as individuals.
We feel very much that this is a hugely frustrating moment from European common market perspective. We believe that potentially this opens a Pandora's box to member state specific measures that actually disrupt internal trade, which is the cornerstone of our success in the EU. We feel that looking at the Commission proposal, the rules are not very clear, and most probably that would create another bureaucratic administrative monster where once again operators will be facing completely different, let's say, market realities, and at the end the consumer would not get what they were promised in the first place.
We are a bit concerned by this proposal. For us that's the end of the internal market. Our view of democracy is to have the choice. And there is a non-GM market which is existing. It's a small market, maybe. In our estimates, it's 15% of the compound feed market, which is non-GM. But there is a choice. And for us, democracy is more about the choice rather than banning or making one market simply not existing anymore. This is something that is impossible to implement.
Just to say that, of course, there are good reasons, I think most people would agree, why it is difficult for a democratic country, market-oriented democracy, particularly a member of the EU, to ban products that were first safety assessed for a long while. If you are, of course, an industry like ours or similar to ours, which invests a very high percentage of its turnovers into research and development, you would like to have that certainty. If we have the same uncertainty about the approval system combined with the question which countries these commodities will actually be approved for ultimately, so how big your marketplace is going to be, I think that takes away certainty rather than adding to it. For us, the alternative is simply to implement properly what's already there.
You know that increasingly the cost factor in the innovation side, and especially when it comes to biotech, actually prohibits these technologies from small and medium-sized companies. Belgium is a very good example of that. In early 1990s, you had a number of good companies that were working in this area. Not anymore. One of the reasons is actually that the authorization process is so heavy, burdensome, and long-lasting that most of the operators just simply couldn't cope.
In Brazil, we have 93% of our soybean is GMO.
In Argentina, 99% of soy and more than 90% of maize produced there are genetically modified, making it clear that this kind of measure jeopardizes almost half of our export to the EU.
The farmers of Argentina, Brazil, and the United States will never stop to produce GMOs because we are sure that it's good for our country, it's good for our farmer, it's good for, and sure good for all of the world.
You cannot force third countries to do as Europe wants. I mean, that's clearly, they have also other markets.
The EU is a leader around the world, so decisions you make does not just affect the EU. It affects many of the countries in Africa and other nations.
You are against because you have money to pay a high costs. But it's not the same condition in Africa, in Asia. So it's your responsibility too.
In 2006, a WTO panel stated that the EU undue delays for approving the GMOs and the safeguards applied by some EU member states were not in compliance with WTO rules because they were not based on science nor on risk assessment either.
We don't think that this will help to secure our supply for food and feed uses. Actually, what we'll do, it will clearly disrupt our supplies and the internal market. My members, the traders, are still in shock. They don't know what this could create to our business and to our colleague from the food and feed supply. So clearly, we did not ask for that. What we asked for is for a system which works. All the tools are there, but unfortunately, because of politics, those are not implemented correctly.
This was not a proposal that comes from public perception. This was a proposal that comes from point 10 of President Juncker's plan. I think that needs to be really clear. You have countries like Slovenia who import 300 kilos of soya per Slovenian per year and who always vote against. Okay, well, explain that then. When you have the voting, if you vote against or you abstain, have a website, I don't know, and on there explain why did you vote against. Do we want to do agriculture in Europe or do we want to import finished products? That's the question that we all want to, we have to answer. Thank you very much for joining us and have a nice evening.